Hello and welcome back to Tommy's Top Picks Weekly Roundup Podcast, episode 172. I'm your host, Tommy, joined by John.
How's it going?
Good. I have a little bit of a sore throat this week, so allergy related, let's hope, and a bunch of stuff to talk about. So hopefully my voice holds out. I'm going to talk about what we played this week. We both played a little bit. I'm going to talk some market for Magic. Going to talk a little Pokemon. And then some economics as our main title.
Yeah.
But we'll be more card related than usual, and we'll probably spend more time there. But first, what we played. Oh, and I guess we should probably caveat that John and I have not had a chance to really dive into Final Fantasy spoilers, so that'll be next week.
We'll talk a lot more on that.
They do. Initial impression, they look crazy. Yeah. And I told John to make sure to look at the set icon to see which is Commander and which is Standard. All the crazy cards that we were talking about, Standard. Cool. It's going to be wild. I'm excited.
Yeah. Good. All right, what did we play?
Do you want me to go first? I played the Is It Prowess. I'm getting better at it. I'm learning blue. Yeah. I'm figuring it out.
Blue things do blue.
It was one of those things where when I lost in the colors I know, like red, black, green, white, like when I play those decks and I understand why I lost.
Blue. Anything but blue, you understand why you lost. Okay, got it.
Now I'm starting to understand why I lost.
Why you lose with blue. Yeah. Blue is inefficient.
Yes.
It's a different type of efficiency. Yes.
Yeah, it's
and
like
that's why. Yeah, I get it. I get why it's confusing, and also why it takes a.
And in this deck, it is all combos. It is all just this triggers this trigger, this triggers this triggers this trigger.
Yeah, and if not, you fail.
Yeah,
you have to get the combos. That's blue.
And the timing is correct.
Yes, timing is critical with blue. That's why I like blue, because you're actually playing the full game of Magic. You have to know how the pieces work, all of it, not just. Combat, not just, let me add some bonus damage that they didn't see coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing matters. The stack matters, everything.
Yeah. And so it's basically just like whenever I mess up the order, I'm just like, immediately I'm just like, I see how this could have been executed better.
Yeah. You lost the value advantage by your own mistake.
Yeah. So it's fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. But I don't think it's going to stick around. It's going to stick around. But as long as Corey Cutter stays around.
Yeah.
People are thinking that might get banned, but.
It's true. There's definitely a ban announcement that could come up. Although, didn't they just say they weren't? Oh, no. That was for Commander, wasn't it? Yeah, Commander. Yeah. They said they're not going to touch it again for like a year.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
Not really. They don't. No. Like, if you look at the history, it's like one every year or two.
Okay.
So historically, that's not that unusual unless there's like a crazy print situation.
That makes sense.
And part of it is they want to give time for the brackets thing to get some feedback. Fair. So that's what they said. They're like, look, we're going to do this now. If something like totally broken happens, we will address that. But otherwise, we're just going to give it time to settle into this so people get a sense of these brackets, understand it, feel good about it, or hate it and give us feedback, and then we'll change it. You know what I mean? So they're just giving time for people to actually play in the way it is now before making any more changes.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of threads of this should be a game changer. This should be a game changer. This should be.
Yeah, I think that will probably happen, even though that's probably part of banned and restricted. I think you'll end up with a very different list at the end of this like testing period.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting. And that's almost like a banning unbanning to a degree.
It's a semi-ban. It's a, low tier inaccessible, ban. So, which is, I think it's good once they get this settled out and figured out, and it's easy and everyone knows how to do it, and all the deck builder software, like include, you know what I mean? Like once it's all fully infrastructured out, I think it will make it, better experience for most people. There'll be edge cases and people trying to spike, etc. But I think generally speaking, it will be more fun and easier to find good matches, which is the key.
Yeah.
The whole thing and I've talked about this a million times, the whole thing for Commander is if you're on the same playing field, it's fun. If you're not, it's not fun. And like the game's supposed to be fun. So
yes, you're supposed to. It's a casual game. You're supposed to have fun.
Exactly. So I think that's going to help eventually, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree. There's some game changers. One that I saw, one of the posts, just like you were talking about, that I totally agree with is Roaming Throne,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just universally useful for any sort of tribal, right? And it's like, and it's powerful, so it should probably be a game changer. But
Yeah.
anyways,
I think the basic land island should be a game changer, but that's me. I'm
boo,
just it's a joke. It's a joke.
boo. Anyways, uh, did you play anything else?
No, that was really it. I didn't have time. I just grinded my daily quests with that and the life gain white deck,
Okay.
which is now no longer even in like at all in the meta. So it's
Yeah,
super fun to play in standard because no one expects it.
yeah, yeah.
And then but there are some decks in standard that just destroy it.
Yeah, just roll over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been doing Rakdos Prowess and Pioneer.
Hmm.
More on Pioneer later, but
Oh yeah, we can talk about that thing too. We didn't even
yeah, I'm
talk about
excited
that.
about that. We're definitely going to talk about that. But the deck does well. It gets me. I think I'm in gold somewhere at this point. I have not been playing as much as I was last month, so I'm
It's only
actually
the 11th.
yeah progressing slower. Just because I just haven't had the time. My work and life has been
Yeah.
too busy. And then I did see Tarkir Quick Draft showed up.
Hmm.
So I went and jumped in there and I drafted a pretty solid red white deck. And I'm actually, how long does it allow you to keep playing? Because I still haven't lost all three. I
There'll
think
be
it
a timer on, like if you go to the page, it'll tell you how long you have.
I may have already lost that timer then because it was a while ago. Basically, what
I think
happened
it
was,
no, I think it doesn't refresh till Tuesday.
okay, yeah, Dune Beta took over my existence. And so I never finished the draft. Like I got 3 wins, I got 1 loss.
Nice.
And then Dune Beta came out and I didn't touch Arena again. And it's been days now. So I'm like, I might time out, but I don't care. Three
No,
wins is
I
really
think
good for me in Tarkir. So I
yeah,
feel great. I don't care if I lose at that point.
yeah. You have till Tuesday, I think, and then sometimes they go 2 weeks, maybe.
Okay, yeah, I was curious about that.
Yeah,
So I'll see. I'll check it. But because the Dune Beta will be over in a few hours, actually.
yeah. If you
So
search like MTG Arena quick draft schedule, there is a schedule, and you can see
gotcha.
like
But it
what's
was
coming and stuff like that.
really solid, really solid deck. Like a little prowessy, but mostly just the +1s and
The
go
flurries.
wide.
Yeah,
Yeah, it flurries, yeah, whatever. There's a little bit of that in there, but it's minor, and it's just I just managed to grab a lot of good cards. Got a good balance of removal, and then basically everything else is just go wide, and +1s, and it just overwhelms people because it's a relatively slow format. So you get that thing going, and it's just too late by the time they get their thing moving. So it's a good deck.
nice.
I should probably save it if you wanted to try to do a Tarkir draft against Tarkir draft
Yeah,
because it's probably my best deck that I
yeah.
made it this whole time. So,
I think I saved a couple.
yeah, you told me to
Yeah,
save a few, and I did save them, but they were garbage, so I
yeah,
wasn't like very interested in playing because I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna lose with these. Like I didn't even get 1 win or 2 wins with them,
yeah.
whatever.
I think I have a green, white, black deck that would be good to play against that.
Cool. Um, moving on to Magic Market
Before
stuff.
we
We
go to
got
market, I did want to touch on Pioneer is officially coming to Arena. So that'll
oh
be fun.
well,
Before we get away from
down in the
Arena.
main. That's down in the main topic,
Is that
bro.
main topic? Okay. Then we'll go to the
Let's
market. We'll go to the market. I
all right,
didn't
hey, transition. Now we've ruined the transition, so let's regain the transition by going to Pioneer.
Pioneer is coming to
All right,
Arena
it is. So it was pretty close before. People have made a lot of comments that
with
Explorer was
Explorer. Yeah.
basically there, but not quite. And then I think at the last tournament they were tracking how many cards were missing, basically.
Yeah.
And there was like a dozen or less, right? It was not that many that were missing that were in the meta. There's obviously many cards that they don't have from the older sets, but they're also like commons that no one plays. So
Yeah.
who cares, right? Um, so they announced that they're going to release Pioneer as a full format. They're going to release like an anthology or one of those
And
equivalents.
remove Explorer, right? Like
Yeah,
it's taking
Explorer's
over
done.
Explorer.
It
Yeah.
gets turned into Pioneer after they gave a date, but I don't recall exactly when it was. And then I think it's the end of this month. I think it's the end of this month. I could be wrong on that, but it's soon. And then they're going to do. I want to say it was like a tournament type thing, either a draft one or something. They're going to do some tournament where reward for getting certain number of wins is some of those cards that are just being introduced. So you have a way to play to get the cards. I think there's a way to just buy it, with gems or whatever. And then obviously there's still the Explorer Draft, which exists. So the packs exist that are Explorer. And so I think they'll replace it called Pioneer, and you can get Historic Pioneer, whatever they call it. On top of that, which this part I'm way more excited about, they are doing a new policy for arena reprints. So you know how like Land of War Elf is in every freaking set, right?
Yeah.
Or not every set, but a lot of sets, right? Well, if you have 4 Land of War Elves, you no longer have to worry about getting 4 more Land of War Elves before you start getting the addition to your
That's
free
huge.
bonus. It's so big. Now, you do need to get one of each set, right?
Yeah.
Because what that does is it unlocks the art,
Yeah.
and then the art you can apply to any set of 4 you want. So once you have 4 of a kind, new set, reprint, you just get one of them, and then you start adding to your treasure trove or whatever that thing's called, and the freebie cards thing, the bonus
The
cards.
vault, I think.
Yeah, the vault, that's it. Yeah. So you get the one, you get the art, and then you can transform any 4 of that type of card into whatever art you own or any variety of the art you own. Because that is actually one thing I've noticed. I've downloaded like lists and uploaded them, and it's like you don't have them, but I have 4 of a different
Yep.
type.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is so annoying because I have to like go and figure it out if I do or not. And it's like, it's just a thing. So that's gone. Never have to deal with that again. That was the most exciting part. The second most exciting part is the bonus cards coming faster. Totally into that. So I'm very hyped on Pioneer on Arena now. I'm super excited to see how this plays out. Hopefully they do some stuff to help the meta and stuff. But honestly, I felt pretty good with the meta. I know people were complaining about it
I
for
was
that long.
enjoying it.
Yeah, I haven't really had a hard time with it. There's enough variety on the ladder. Maybe it's because I'm low tier. Like I only got
Yeah.
to platinum or whatever that one is recently. So yeah, I don't know. On the lower side of it, it's a lot of fun. Maybe at the top it's very restrictive. I don't know.
Yeah.
So exciting Pioneer news.
Nice. Yeah, and it looks like it dropped yesterday.
What, the Pioneer thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, the
May
10th.
10th. Yep.
Yeah, that was the number, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Did they put the tournament up?
Um,
Some sort of tournament where you could win the cards. Oh no, I'm logged out. I can't just log in. How annoying. I'll figure it out. We'll talk about it again. I promise. Moving on to the market.
Yeah. We got we noticed Phyrexia All Will Be One is now a $500 collector box. And selling 2 a day.
Yeah, that moved up pretty quick.
Yeah. It's selling
looks like
in moves.
Yeah, it's basically just kind of up and to the right on the chart. It had like a little spike from the 300 range to the 400 range, and then it's just been going up and to the right since then. And there's not that many left. How many did you say there were?
Let me refresh just in case. There is 26 available and 16 sellers. I'm surprised more hasn't come to market with this big move.
I think a lot of guys
330
with the oil cards. Everyone loved those freaking oil cards, and they were easy to get in there.
Yeah.
All right, so just got it up. Pioneer Showcase is up. 5,000 coins, 1,000 gems, 2 loss allowed. 1 win gets you 0 wins get you one of the cards, so you automatically get it for going in. That's awesome. 1 win gets you nothing. 2 wins get you 2 packs, right? Of the, I guess, Explorer version, I guess Pioneer now, whatever they're calling that pack. And then it goes up from there with gems. So,
yeah,
pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm excited. I will definitely be playing this. Is this a draft format? No, it's Pioneer deck. Okay, best of 3. Yeah.
That's cool.
Maybe I won't be playing this because I don't know the best of stuff.
No.
I don't know sideboards. I've just done best of 1 with Pioneer, so maybe I won't do this tournament. But hey, pretty cool that they are offering it for those who are good at that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Many people say this is real magic.
What, Pioneer?
Yeah, Pioneer Best of 3.
Oh, yeah. Best of 3 is real Magic for sure.
Yeah, they're like, this is the real, like, it's a huge, like, it's a big card pool, not a silly card pool, right? It's a big card pool.
Yeah.
It's essentially, real sideboarding matters, type stuff. And the meta's pretty, I guess, interesting or restrictive. Like, not restrictive, but like, you need to know what you're doing. When you go into a fight, you need to know, okay, this is what I'm playing against. Here's the sideboard tech for that, and here's how I play. And then it's like the real game of Magic. Reminds
Yeah.
me of like kind of towards Flesh and Blood style. Not that tight, but obviously.
Well, no, it's
Still,
more competitive.
yeah, but
Yeah.
more that kind of competitive structure.
Yeah.
Know your shit.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Anyways, back to
Yeah.
market stuff. We had print runs for Tarkir were about the same as others. They announced they
Mhm.
actually came out and said it because people were like, "Did they short print it?" The answer was no. They did
No,
not short print
it's just
this.
that demand.
It's that popular, which is awesome. I love it. I think I'd say I didn't see it coming because Tarkir was not top of my list. Although the one that I did like, it got pulled for the year. Um, they said they're going to get more play boxes by late summer
Mhm.
and then late autumn for more commander boxes. So don't freak out and buy a $200 commander deck, right? Because
No,
there will be
yeah.
more.
Yeah. The
There will
commander
be
decks will, like, and you look at even like Lord of the Rings or the really popular Universes Beyond commander decks, Warhammer, or I don't know much about the Doctor Who ones, but
yeah, me neither.
although the other ones I mentioned have been reprinted many, many times, and then every time they're reprinted, there's a big giant down curve. So
And I will say that commander decks do go up eventually, but it is
yes,
after
yeah.
that flush
They're
out of the
reprinted a
final
couple
print
times.
run. Yeah, they do reprint them, but then after that flushes finally, they do tend to go up. So they're
Oh
not a bad
yes,
thing to hold on to. It's
no,
just it's a long hold, 5 year. Think 5 year.
yeah,
5 year, good. Go look back at a commander deck from 5 years ago. You'll
yeah.
like
Go
the
look at
price.
the Warhammer commander decks.
Yeah, that wasn't even 5 years,
No, I
and
know,
that's a little weird one because they did short print those commander decks. That was like the one time they had a low print
but they
run or
reprinted them multiple
lower.
times.
They did, but it was still a lower print run for that. If you
Yeah,
recall, when it first came out, that one was bonkers.
yeah.
That was the first. When was it the first collector commander? It was,
That was
wasn't
the
it?
first collector commander.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they really were experimenting on that one. But anyways, yeah, late summer for play boxes is a little nerve wracking just because it means standard and draft it's going to have a hard time firing on Turkir for a while because it's such a popular product.
yeah. I mean, they're at 120. You can find them cheaper elsewhere, but
You can, but if they're not getting printed again for another call 3 months,
yeah,
it's those prices will go up, and it will kind of suck for shops that want to run drafts, right?
yeah,
Because it's like it's better to just sell it on the market than to draft. So, anyways, there'll be other stuff like Final Fantasy to fill that gap.
yes, yeah. It's gonna
Although
be a
the price
black
on
hole.
that might be a limiting
Amazon
factor.
just had it on sale for 144 yesterday.
That's not bad. I'm just thinking like if you're running a draft on it, you have to charge higher, and people are like, I want to spend my whatever it is these days, $10, $20
Yeah,
to draft. It's probably more than that these days. It's been a while.
yeah. It's
I'm a
more.
boomer. It's been since COVID since I last drafted Magic,
Yeah,
like at a shop.
yeah.
So that's it for the market
It'll be
stuff.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see like when it, because I think this is the first. I guess Boomburo too, and
Mhm.
Foundations. But it's
We've
interesting to
seen it.
see. But this is the first time with the 30 pack
That's
box.
true. And they are like being more communicative. So
Hmm.
that's probably a good thing. It'll keep the prices from going too crazy because a lot of people will know, like, oh, there's a reprint coming.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's probably a good policy with these ones where you get this popularity. They don't really want to overprint it. And by communicating, it helps
yeah.
like
That more is
dampen
coming.
the,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It helps dampen the hype a little bit, which will slow that
or people are
excessive
less likely to
marketing.
store it away
Sure, both.
because
Like
they know
it's
there's
both,
another
right?
opportunity
There's
down the
more
road.
supply, there's
Yeah,
less demand. Just by communicating, it's helpful.
hmm,
Please
yeah,
keep doing so, Watsy. When it's a hype set, so the prices don't go bonkers.
yeah. No,
So,
for sure.
cool. Do you have anything on Pokemon stuff?
Yeah. Um, Sword and Shield. It's moving again. Um, if you watch us, you probably watch Rudy. He put out a video about how he's stopping all of his Pokemon sales right now. Fusion Strike, if you take a look at that, it's probably why. You remember it being a $500 box, right? Just like a little bit ago. It is now $800.
Pretty good.
And selling 2 a day.
Yep.
But and it has hit, and the highest sale is $795.95. So we have sold at $800, which is crazy.
I mean, it's kind of an old set now, isn't it? Like it was like 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, but just at the beginning of the month, or no, sorry, yeah, May 1st, it was 500.
But that's just how prices move. That's not that crazy, because it's been at 500 for a long time. It's definitely been a while.
The 6-month chart is broken. It was 448 in February,
which is still basically 500.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's been in that area for a while, and it now it's doing the big jump, and yes, the supply is gone, but the product's like 3 years old, so that happens. It's definitely not getting a reprint at this point. We know that, right? The market's basically just acknowledging these things that we've suspected, but we're unsure of until recently. So yeah,
4 years old, November
yeah,
21.
it's old. Like that's not unusual in this, post-inflation environment. I know it feels like a big number because we're not used to seeing boxes at 1,000 all the time, but post-inflation, like that's the new norm, people. 5-year-old product that's decent, it's gonna hit 1,000. It's happening a lot,
And decent, people hated Fusion Strike when it came out.
Well, yeah, that's the funny part, but that's normal. I mean, how often is the market like sentiment totally wrong on a product at first?
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, then there's a bunch of the Sword and Shield. That's just one example.
But yeah,
I think
no,
Brilliant
it is
Stars is moving up. There's a couple others.
I think it's basically everyone's like, oh, Sword and Shield's 4 years old. Shit. They're not going to reprint this.
No, absolutely not. No,
like that's
no.
I think the market's like, oh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, but yeah, it sounds like Rudy's not selling his stuff. And then, what's funny about it, though? He did do a weekend sale of Sword and Shield Paldea. Oh wait, no, Paldea's SV, isn't it?
Scarlet
Violet. Yeah. My bad. So.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine who got on a Discord who is trying to catch all the Pokemon Center drops. So we're back to there of people just waiting or getting Discord bots to be able to tell them when to go onto Pokemon Center and buy for MSRP. It's a crazy time.
Yeah. I think they're going to continue to play this. Like, I honestly, the more we've talked about it with the macro environment thought process and the print runs and everything else, I think they're just going to keep it like this until demand comes down in an economic shift, or there's issues with tariffs, right? This elevated price helps them deal with any tariff costs they end up having.
Yeah.
Because people will be used to paying more, right? So if you just pick up MSRP and no one really noticed because that's kind of what the market's been saying it's worth anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you look at Destin Rivals, it peaked at like 320 and but I mean, that's insane. It's down to 260. It's down to 266. I think it'll continue to fall. And then I think it'll fall after. Because supposedly, from what I've heard, people are getting the same allocations as they got for Journey together. And that's at, so that would be a good example. Let's see where that's at. 224. So
266, not far off, especially since we're still in pre-sale time. It always comes down when everyone can list.
But it has been on the trend up to there. It was 208. So it got as low as 200 on TCG Player, and you can find it cheaper elsewhere. But
yeah, I'm just saying, I think Destiny Rivals will do the same thing, probably drop down to 200 range for a bit, and then swing back up.
Yeah, because the next set is 0.5 set after Destiny Rivals. It's the black and white, no booster box, kind of like 151, but for the 3rd generation or 4th generation. Forget which that is. But yeah, so that'll be a hype set, but one I can easily skip because there's no booster box. I
So,
do. Yep.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I
I was
will.
gonna say I have a question. So when
Yeah, I
you're done,
will probably grab a case of Destined Rivals just because to go with Journey together. But I think I might wait till post release. Honestly.
yeah, makes sense. So Destiny Rivals has some things on there, right? One, Team Rocket, right?
Yep.
And then two, what's the one on the left side with the dude in front of him that looks like an evil henchman?
Hmm?
It's like the Pokemon. What's that Pokemon?
Mewtwo.
Is that Mewtwo?
It's
It's like a
Mewtwo
kind
and
of a
Giovanni.
standing cat. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
on the box.
Yeah. My question is Mewtwo kind of like the younger generation's Pikachu? Because
No,
that I
no.
recognize that Pokemon, and there's not many I do recognize off the front like that. So I imagine it's a relatively popular one, or they've used it on a lot of cover art.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, he's
so
Gen
are
1.
you sure? Yeah, I
Mewtwo's
know, but
Gen
I
1.
think they used him a lot more later.
Uh,
No.
not really. He's very solidly Gen 1. Like he
Okay.
is number 150.
Oh, he's the end of the first gen. Like
Tech
he's the
technically, and then there's the hidden quote unquote Mew
hidden
that's
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
151. So
Yeah, which is hence the 151, right?
yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So Mewtwo's 150, and then Mew's 151. He is a very popular Pokemon. Got kind of shafted in his. He was supposed to be the Pokemon Go big pool, um, but no one really liked that one, even though I did. It was. I don't know. It was cool. It was like the test tube Mewtwo, because that's he was. Uh, this Pokemon Mewtwo was made by Team Rocket in a test tube, trying to clone Mew.
They wanted to steal his power,
Mm-hmm.
her power. I don't know.
Its power. Yeah.
Its power is
I don't
it.
want to assume Mew's gender.
Do they not have genders?
Some of them do.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought they did, but I couldn't remember. I wasn't 100% sure on that.
Yeah,
I
but
guess if you're in a test tube, right, you can be whatever.
yeah, and Mew is technically
Is it robot or something?
no. Mew's like a hidden, uh, like a legendary Pokemon. But
What's the one? All right, in the video game that we've recently played,
mhm.
you know how the whole story starts with this thing crashing into the beach, and he looks like he's a jet plane. Um, is that a robot, or is that actually supposed to be a living thing with jets attached to its butt?
I don't remember at the very beginning of the like Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, whatever the one you just got. Like I just got. I was
Yeah,
about to say
it
you
was
got me.
Violet. I finished the DLC. I played it when it came out. I'm assuming it's not a Pokemon that you came in on, but what you ride around on is a Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know. You might ride around on it eventually because I'm still like at the very, very beginning. In the beginning, the story starts like you're walking towards school and there's like a howl from the beach and you go down there and there's this like injured Pokemon and there's like a cutscene that introduces it flying through the air and being like a crazy thing. And then when you wake it up, it like goes into super mode and like floats in the air and protects you as you walk through the cave.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
it definitely has like a jet engine attached to its butt, two jet engines, one on each
Is it
side.
purple?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. And then it
that's
turns like white in its super mode.
yeah, it's the Pokemon on your on the cover.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah,
So what is that? Is that a robot or is that a
it's a
creature?
Pokemon.
So Pokemon can grow jets from their butts?
I mean, Pokemon can do anything, John. Yeah.
Okay.
So like in
I don't
Scarlet,
think
it's
we
a
need to worry about genders anymore if we're talking about butt jets.
Scarlet has the red one, and then Violet Cridon, I think it is. Um, and it's basically your mount. And by the end of the game, you can jump, climb up walls, fly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That totally because I found those areas where it's like there's a thing up there and I can't get there. How do I get there? And yeah,
yeah,
totally. Okay. Item lock. Classic Zelda.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Pokemon will be interesting. I'm watching. I'm on the sidelines right now, but uh, keeping an eye on it. Things are a little crazy right now, and I think there are just better opportunities than to overpay for Pokemon cards.
Oh yeah, I agree with that completely. There's been so many opportunities, and I
Hmm.
guess we can transition to market stuff if you want to.
Yeah.
So economics. One of the things that before we get into that, just we've talked about, having third on the sidelines or whatever, and we talked about like we're deploying and all that stuff. Well, markets dropped, markets recovered, not fully recovered, I'd say. But hopefully you were listening and deployed some capital during that time. I know you were, Tommy, because you talked about it specifically with me.
Yeah. Oh,
With
that is one thing.
yeah,
Before we get too far into this, I was holding off this month on grabbing like a case of something because I was gonna get the Switch too.
yeah.
I didn't get it, but now I'm hearing that like people that signed up for it, if they don't claim it within 3 days, then it gets forwarded. Then the next people in line get emails. So I'm holding out a little bit longer to see if I get emails on Monday, but we
So you didn't
shall
get your
see. I didn't get
Switch,
my Switch. And
and
then
as a
so it has
result,
me going down a rabbit hole of even do I want the Switch or do I get a Steam Deck?
oh, interesting. I've looked at that multiple times with the intent of purchasing it and then being like, I never actually play portable games. Like I still have my Switch One. I bought several games thinking I'll play it, and I
But
just
the thing
don't. I
is, then
don't know why.
I have my Steam library is the
I,
thing.
I
I
agree.
instantly have games for it.
That's why I'm like very tempted to do it, but at the same time, I never play portable games.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like I'm very bad at it.
yeah.
I always forget that it exists. I just sit in front of my computer instead.
Yep, yeah. And that's why I was just like, maybe that is the route to go, but we'll see. Sorry, didn't mean to disrupt. I just wanted to talk
No,
about it.
no, no,
Oh,
totally
and what I was gonna get was I saw multiple opportunities to get Lord of the Rings set boxes because that just got reprinted at 135, and I was like, nope, gotta hold off for the Switch. And then I didn't get the email, and then I went to go look, and they were 170 again. And I was like, damn it,
You're so sad.
I was sad.
And you probably won't get another chance. We said this was the last print, we think. Of the
I'm
set.
hopeful that there actually might be another.
There might be because the license is till the end of this year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, so there is time for
there is
another
time.
print. Question marks with all these other things being reprinted, like Tarkir,
Right? Does that get
because
pushed out
of yeah,
priority wise?
exactly the volume, availability, that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, we'll see. We'll
We'll
see how
see.
that one goes.
Yeah.
That's been out and being reprinted for quite some time, so it would
Yes.
shock me if this was the last one.
Yeah. Rolling the dice on another one.
Yeah, yeah,
I have
totally.
I have my position, so I'm fine. I was just gonna add to it.
Yeah, you just love Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Oh my god. Sorry, the channel with all the Final Fantasy VII's stuff is blowing up. So much stuff happening and coming out. Anyways, all right, so back to market stuff.
Hmm.
First thing that's of interest, GDP printed at negative zero point 0.3. This would be a first negative quarter. If we'd use the rule of thumb of 2 quarters negative, it's a recession.
Hmm.
So we need one more quarter. We won't know that for a while. And honestly, this could be revised up because it's only zero point 0.3 negative. We've seen that before. In fact, the one everyone called Biden's recession or whatever never was a recession. It got revised up, and we had 1 quarter of negative, barely negative, honestly, and then the other quarter was barely positive. So very likely this happens too. Like that's, well, I wouldn't say very likely. It's likely, or it's very possible that this gets revised into a positive position, and then the recession isn't even on the book. So, recessions are trailing indicators. Like we don't know that they've happened until they've already happened.
Yeah.
So it's not really worth worrying about recession, not recession. Is it? Keep an eye on things like unemployment, which did give us recent numbers. Again, under 300K in new unemployment postings is fine. Like basically, it will go up, it will go down, kind of in that 2 to 300 range. It happens all the time. Just even with just seasonality stuff. So nothing to really worry about or pay attention to until it hits 300K. That's usually the mark where things start to actually happen that are problematic. That's usually like if it passes that line, it usually goes way past that line because now we're at a point where it's like, okay, people can't get jobs for X, Y, or Z reason, right?
Yeah.
So I do fully expect to see some of that by the end of the year. We'll see how bad it gets. That's always the question: is how quickly we can react and turn things around. There's a couple of factors on that. One is the situation with the tariffs is obviously causing a decline in warehouse workers, port workers, and truckers because we are getting empty cargo ships or empty cargo vessels and various types of stuff is not showing up because of the tariffs. Like people just won't buy a $5 toy for $25, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just not going to
It's just, yeah.
happen. So yeah, there's certain price inelasticity that happens when you get tariffs of this size, and so people just aren't ordering that stuff. I will say I've noticed at a couple of shops that have like kind of specialty goods or whatever, they have empty shelves. Like it's starting on the East Coast for some things.
Yeah.
I don't know what their supply chain is, or maybe they're just didn't want to order because they're worried about paying, and so they cut it back early. I don't know, but I did see it. One of them was oddly kosher candy.
Hmm.
Apparently, the fruit roll-ups that are kosher are made in China or somewhere else, somewhere that has a tariff, because they are gone, like completely gone. We'll see. They might just show up. Maybe it was just a delay in things. And then the other one was, I think I mentioned it last time, the Asian
Yeah.
store that we
Yeah.
go to, that grocery store, that had a lot of empty shelves. So I think we're going to see, effects like that. How big it gets, how prevalent it gets is a big question mark. A lot of the big retail suppliers apparently worked out something. We talked about this last week where, Walmarts and whatever said, keep sending stuff because essentially they're not afraid of the tariffs. So they think something's going to happen. And on that topic, especially with China, this weekend, Bissett, I don't know how you say his name, the treasury guy, is over, actually, he's in Switzerland, negotiating with China on a trade deal. Trump basically screamed on Truth Social, I think it was Friday night, basically, China should open its market to America and be a big free market. It would be wonderful, blah, 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 basically begging them to make a deal in his way. It looked like begging to me.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. They've already adjusted
Yeah.
most of, well, I wouldn't say they don't care. They do care. It will affect their economy. Um, and so you got to keep that in mind. They do have an interest in making a deal. There is that. It's not a complete like one-sided thing, but America stands to be much more damaged from this situation than China does. They have done a lot of work over the past decade to diversify away from America and pull out of the US dollar. And so as a result, they hold more of the cards than America does on a purely numeric basis. But that said, we are a huge market for them, and it will have a negative impact if nothing gets worked out. So that they are, everyone's at the table with a hope to make something work. I did see them say, this is an official announcement. But you know how those guys, they're like all rumor, even if it's official.
Mm-hmm.
They said the tariffs for China got cut in half from 145% to 40% or 50%, I
Oh,
think, which is
okay.
not half.
I saw 80. Yeah.
So, well, that's not half either.
I know. I know. Math
The
is
math
hard,
didn't
John. Math
even
is
work in
hard.
the announcement. Yeah, I was like, you guys are not helping yourself with the negotiation. If you can't even do basic division by two, it's gonna
Yeah.
be it's gonna be a hard time getting a good deal. So yeah, I don't think we have our best and brightest at the table, but hey, whatever. Hopefully it works out and we get something worked out. Honestly, any tariff from China will be devastating to the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
Just flat out, everyone should know that we get so much stuff from China. Everything from like inputs, like core material
Yep.
stuff, right,
Oh,
which
yeah.
goes into everything we do make here, all the way through finished products and partial complex products and electronic, like everything. We get so many things. So if there's any tariffs that are universally China, like if it's just nation driven, that will be a problem. It will have an impact and will affect logistics chains. And what that means is we'll have chaotic ripples through the economy, similar to what happened with COVID, probably muted by comparison because COVID was a massive disruption. This would be a more minor disruption. But expect inflation, expect prices to go up because that's what happens when inputs go up,
Mm-hmm.
and expect some concerns on that. I will say they worked out a trade deal with the UK. Another very odd one. They posted this image of what the deal was, and I guess people don't know how to Google stuff because if you just Google the terms that they said and the numbers they
Yeah.
said, you see that they hurt us. We now pay a 10% tax on stuff from the UK. I think it was Ford came out right away and said it's cheaper to buy a car from the UK than to buy one that's made in the US now because of the tariff
Cool.
that they did. Yeah. And so everyone's scratching their head like, so we went from having near free trade, it wasn't complete. There was minor tariffs here and there, near free trade to not free trade and a worse situation for the consuming public in America. I don't understand what they thought they achieved. They were very proud of it. This came out by Trump on his own Twitter. So whoever it was, they're very proud they worked out a UK deal. The deal is worse than where we were before. And I fully expect that to happen in most of these situations because most of the world didn't like the way they were treated and have started to talk to each other and say, hey, let's make deals,
Yeah.
in good faith. And they see us as a bad faith negotiator. So they're not going to give us a lot, which is fair because, we jerked our own trade deals down. Like the one with Mexico and Canada was written and signed by Trump. And he said it was a terrible deal and decimated it. And it's like, when you do that, no one trusts your word. So, it creates this bad situation, which is where we're at. Ultimately, how this impacts the economy. There's a couple of factors that are happening that I think are worth talking about. I talk about Bitcoin on here quite a bit, so I'll talk about that now. That price has gone up. It's being seen as a digital hedge or digital gold. Gold is another one that's been going up. Essentially, in chaotic times, you put money in things that are kind of reserve or safe zones. Gold is because it's universally appreciated, right? Like every country wants gold or likes gold, right? So that's one of the reasons, right? Bitcoin, similarly, it's a digital version of the same thing. It's a basket of every country that has access to Bitcoin, which is almost every country right now. Even China does, even though they banned it a few years ago, they always left like little windows open for it for certain ways to get in. So it's basically a basket of all currencies, similar to special drawing rights, which is what banks use to help stabilize currencies across international markets. So it's basically the democratized version of a special drawing, right? So anyone can access it if you have a bank account and can sign up for an account.
Yeah.
So relatively easy to get a hedge against this chaos. It also helps stabilize against non-macro scale instability, right? If it's macro scale instability, like think of COVID, right? The whole world is in question. No one knows where the problems are. It's not going to work because that uncertainty is universal, and that would shrink the value, right? But if it's I can't remember what the exact term is. There's a term of art related to it. But if it's isolated with like just the US market is going chaotic and everyone else is doing better, then that will be a good place to be, right? Especially if you're in the US. It's basically taking it out of the chaotic US dollar, putting it in a basket that includes US dollars, right? So we'll get hit by it a little bit, but it won't be all down, right? It's like diversifying a portfolio, basically.
Sure.
If one thing goes down, the rest stays stable, you're good. So anyways, that's what people are doing, and it is approaching a new all-time high, currently sitting at 104. Previous was 108. And there's a lot of calls saying it's going to go higher. Record inflows to the ETFs, which are the retail access version through, investment accounts. So that's interesting, promising for Bitcoin. And it's definitely part of a change in the global economic structure. I think there's a lot of activity going on with banks right now. They're pushing on the SEC to change the laws so that they can be custodians of crypto for their customers, which will shift the way the whole market works if that happens. So, anyways, there's a lot of stuff happening in that regard, and that is kind of a sign of this uncertainty in the world. So let's get to the final bit, which is the interesting and card related part. FOMC. So this is the Fed came out, had their little announcement. Powell basically said there's high concern for inflation driven by uncertainty around the trade deals, and also concerned about growth being impacted. Well, if you know how economics work, he basically said he's worried about stagflation without saying the word stagflation.
Yeah.
So he describes stagflation in the literal, like, textbook sense without saying the word, which I don't know who he thought he was fooling, because the only people that listen to him are economically educated. No random person's listening to Powell. All right. So he didn't trick anyone, but he
No.
definitely
Said it
didn't
without
say
saying.
stagflation. Yeah, he said it without saying it. So, question mark on this is, and this ties back to cards, is this good for cards? And Tommy and I were kind of going back and forth a little bit before we started, and I could see a world, like, none of this is financial advice, but I could see a situation where the inflationary pressure on the cards end up pushing the prices up, but also the limited supply situation, because
Mm-hmm.
unlike other products that get this inflation but lack of growth situation, they're steady state. They stay on the market. But remember, this is a very limited supply product.
Mm-hmm.
After 3 years, you can't find it anymore in, like factory level, like warehouse level,
Right.
right? It's only in the open market. So there's a pretty good argument that cards are a decent hedge. I could see that as an economic argument. Now, again, not financial advice. Do
No.
not leverage into this. The timing, the details are so crazy. Like,
And
who
we could
knows?
have demand go down.
Demand could go down. Yeah, I think it actually will go down if we get a big economic drop. But I think because of the limited supply, it will still hold up
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
relatively well.
Yeah.
Not in the short term, but in the
No.
long
No.
term.
Yeah.
Because think about every economic crash. Think about the '08, crisis, right? For example, the cards that were printed during that time, they're definitely higher today than they were back then.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you see what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
a guarantee, no, not guarantee. It's as close to a guarantee as you can get of an upward direction, assuming we don't, collapse into, whatever global chaos or whatever. Which, if we didn't over COVID, I don't really see us going into like apocalyptic levels of chaos. It just doesn't make sense.
No.
Uh, the world is too connected, even with all this like disconnecting that Trump is working on. The rest of the world is too connected for us to just all go crazy and kill each other. It's just not realistic in the modern times. I don't think. I hope not. Like, I
Yeah.
hope everyone hopes not. No one
Yeah.
wants that. No one wants the Stone Age. Who wants the Stone Age? I like my cards.
I mean,
Ledger cardboard is fun.
disregarding the last couple Pokemon boxes, just because they're too new, and it's just that it doesn't work. This what we're talking about doesn't work in that time frame. Everything else, uh, a year and older, it's worth more now than it was when it came out.
Exactly. That's my point. It's
Yeah.
like that's it. That's kind of a set structure no matter the economics. The only question mark is that early phase, that release phase, too
Mm-hmm.
much supply, not
Yeah.
enough demand. Those things do affect the release phase, which
Yes.
call it year 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Just for generosity's sake. But post year 1 and 2, it's pretty much always going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
It may take longer, maybe 5, instead of 2, right? It may take longer, may take less time, but it goes up because there's a very finite supply and it never readjusts. So it's a typical supply demand economic
Right.
thing. One of the things, like when you look at that, the supply and demand factor play in for things. The underlying assumption is that production will continue as long as demand exists, right? But that's not how cards work because of their release cycle, right? It's a new cycle. So they
Right.
don't continue production into the demand, right? They go into the next set. So because of that, it defies your typical supply demand curve structure. And therefore, in these situations, it may end up holding up a higher demand or a higher, demand supply balance, right? Higher price over time. Uh, it's a theory. It's a thought.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. Tommy brought it up. I was like, maybe, yeah. That kind of makes sense, yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at like, okay, so everyone's like put your money in S&P 500, right? But if
Yeah,
S&P 500 is just going to stay flat for multiple years, or just bounce up and down and not really go anywhere,
yeah,
um,
which is likely.
yeah,
So stagflation. This is all tying to the FOMC thing. Like, if stagflation's really on the books, and that tends to be stuck when it happens, that's why everyone's afraid of it because it gets stuck for years. Like,
yeah,
5 to 10 years sort of thing. So if we are entering a phase of stagflation where we just see the S&P chop up and down right here and just kind of goes sideways with call it a 10% variance or 20% variance from the top to the bottom, and it just stays in this channel going back and forth, you just get chopped up. You don't get it. What that means is, like, if you buy trying to think it's going to continue up and
yeah,
above, and then it drops, and then you sell because it's going to go down, you're ready to that, so you buy, and like you go back and forth. Basically, people get chopped up to try to play the market.
mm-hmm.
Anyone who just sits there gets nothing. It just sits flat,
Yeah,
basically. But when you compare that on a 5 to 10 year basis, like, say that is happening, and again, you're not going to know until you're year 2, 3. Like, you're
yes,
going to be
yeah,
like, oh crap, it really has been happening. Well, in year 2, 3 of the same investment in cards, you're going to start seeing appreciation,
yeah,
almost certainly, because they won't exist anymore because they don't match demand with supply. That's not how cards work. So that was the argument. Very reasonable set of deductions there, Tommy. Good job.
thank you, thank you.
And I think that was a good idea. I was like, oh yeah, we should talk about that. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
So, anyways, not financial advice.
no,
Again, do not do leverage because the timing is
no,
impossible on
that just
this.
doesn't make sense.
No, it's stupid. But probably not a bad, probably not a bad idea to have in a diversified portfolio that helps set you up as a defensive position against a stagflation situation. I think that was what started this. Is you said, "What do you do with stagflation?" And I'm like, "You don't know. No one knows. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why everyone hates it because there's no like bad times you go into bonds and gold, good times you go into equities. Like that rule exists. What happens if it's flat times? There's no good answer.
Yeah.
That's the answer. Is that there's no good answer in typical economics. Maybe it's cards. I don't know.
Final Fantasy collector boxes.
Just a whole house built out of Final
yeah.
Fantasy collector
Yeah,
boxes.
why not?
Like I got every case on the market.
And now I'm broke.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I'm still scared of it dropping. I don't know. I don't believe it holds the 650, 700 kind of stuff.
I think Final Fantasy will. Now that we're seeing some of these cards. Although, I've been
it's a lot
hyped in the
higher.
past. Yeah, this is the thing. I've been hyped in the past on these early releases, like the early teasers. They are the early teasers. They are the powerhouse, right?
Yes.
Until you see the whole set, you don't really get a good sense, typically. So, yes, I think it will be good. I think it will be above average, but we're already at above average prices, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Is it good enough to be bigger? Question mark.
Yeah.
But they
yeah, and also just with this Destined Rivals and other big sets dropping, stores needing to move it. I don't know. I can see some boxes coming to the market that are cheaper. Yeah, maybe not on TCG Player, but
yeah, we will see.
We'll see.
All right. Well, that's all I got for economics. I think that's about it, huh?
Yeah, that's all I got. Well,
cool.
If the world's still spinning next week, we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good one.